On today's episode of The Unwritten Rule, we got Mizzou's bowl game. We're going to not preview the game because it's still a long way away, but we're going to talk about the bowl game announcement, Mizzou getting Ohio State. Just break it down, how excited we are in the Cotton Bowl. It's going to be an awesome game, so we'll talk a little bit about that. We've got a little bit of portal stuff, a little Gary Pinkel stuff, and then, some just more housekeeping stuff with Mizzou football. Just to go through in this kind of in-between bowl season. And then we have a really great interview for you guys. We talked to Kimberly Beaudin, who's the president and chief executive officer of the National College Football Hall of Fame, because Jeremy Maclin's getting inducted. So we talked with her about what's going in his cool display, just talked about the College Football Hall of Fame in general, how that works. Learned a lot of stuff I did not know about the College Football Hall of Fame. So great interview there. And then we'll talk a little men's basketball. We're going to recap. We're recording on a Sunday, so the Wichita State Mizzou game just finished. So we'll recap that. Also the insane viral highlight that happened with Peyton Marshall. So we'll break all that down for you. Then we have quick hits, Ken Sports Shorts, we have best beats, Dirty Birds, and then NFL fraud rankings with a very interesting number one pick given the time we're recording this show. But we'll get to that in just a little moment. But the Unwritten Rule is presented by Bet Online. The holiday season is off and rolling with NFL in full stride and NBA and NHL hitting mid-season form. Bet Online is your number one destination for all your sports wagering info with all the up-to-minute news, sports wagering, odds, trends, and predictions. Bet Online is the top spot for everything pro and amateur sports. It's not just the big four. BetOnline has info available right at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access at any time for almost any sport that is played, from MMA to international soccer. I know there were big fights last night. I think it might have been MMA. So yeah, all kinds of sports. So head to BetOnline today and remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, BELIEVE, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, they gave me all my Iowa Sicko bets for the whole season. So thank you to them. It's where the game starts, and the Unwritten Rule starts right now.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Peyton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to the Unwritten Rule. Today is Monday, December 4th, and in a weird twist of fate, it turns out Connor Stallions was working for Mizzou the whole time. That's right. As Eli Drinkwitz said on ESPN, Connor Stallions is doing intel for Mizzou. He's going to get all of the notes ahead of Mizzou's game against Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl on December 29th. Breaking news. I mean, just flat out admitting, to using a source like that to get expert info ahead of your bowl game after a 10-2 year. It's a pretty bold strategy from Drinkwitz. I'm kidding. It did make Reese Davis laugh. That was a hilarious moment. But most importantly, Cotton Bowl, Ohio State for Mizzou is what awaits to culminate what has been an unprecedented and spectacular season for Mizzou football. Peyton and Kenny, how are we feeling?
Oh, fantastic, Knowlton. I said let's just root for straight chalk because it'll set Mizzou up nicely with a decent matchup in the Cotton Bowl. I thought. Then I was kind of distraught after Georgia lost to Alabama because I didn't think Alabama was going to get in and it was going to mess Mizzou up. But the chips fell Mizzou's way, and I think they got the best possible matchup they could have. Ohio State. I mean, let's break it down a little. I mean, first of all, this Ohio State team is not going to be the most motivated team in the nation. I mean, let's be frank. I mean, Ohio State does not want to play in the Cotton Bowl against Mizzou as its end goal. Okay. It wouldn't even shock me if something like Marvin Harrison Jr. opts out. Please opt out. Please opt out. But even if he plays, I mean, it's just Ohio State doesn't have Cotton Bowl as its end goal. So there is that. Mizzou has absolutely nothing to lose in this game. They were a surprise team to everybody. Nobody expected them to be anywhere close to us. None of us even – I think everybody that said New Year's 6 was probably in denial a bit coming into the year if that was your prediction. But It happened. Mizzou has nothing to lose if they lose this game because nobody's going to expect them to win. But they have everything to gain if they win. And you know what? The Cotton Bowl, it's just perfect for Mizzou. The entire way this played out for Mizzou, you cannot ask for a better draw than this.
When you talk about, maybe this Ohio State team doesn't feel like in the best spirits of where they want to be. They don't want to face Mizzou. It almost like takes me back to a team that was maybe in a similar situation, a little bit lesser on the rankings, was Auburn in 2017, beating Alabama, going to the SEC championship, losing the SEC championship to Georgia. You come into that Peach Bowl against UCF, and it just didn't feel like they really wanted to be there. And UCF had a really good season that year. They don't shoot down the Knights, but it was a good year for them. It kind of feels like that if you're looking that way. But when the announcement happened, it was just a good feeling, though, if you're following the Mizzou Tigers, if you're a fan of the Mizzou Tigers, that it just happened first. Like sometimes it feels like ESPN drags things out and they do it all the time. And it makes sense for commercials and everything they're trying to promote. But at the same time, it just popped up on the screen and I was like taken aback because usually as, someone who's following the Tigers, things never really go your way. And that felt like something that really went our way, that we wanted to go to the Cotton Bowl. And spoiler, all three of us are going to be there. We're pretty excited about that. Back to DFW for another bowl game. Hopefully it doesn't end the same way as the last one.
Yeah, hopefully my flight doesn't end the same way as it did the last time I tried to go to a Mizzou bowl game. But yeah, that was the nice part, is I was so my heart was racing. I was like, what bowl are they going to get? Is something crazy going to happen where they get booted out of a New Year's Six, even though I think Gabe DeArmond, of all people, did a great job at dispelling any thought of that. But yeah, it was so funny. And Peyton said it before he came on air. He's like, I wasn't even looking at the TV. And all of a sudden it was just like, let's get to the New Year's Six games. How about the Tigers? And there they were, matched up against Ohio State right away. You didn't even have to wait to see. They put up the Cotton Bowl first. And that was a good feeling. I think you're spot on with that, Kenny. And just very cool to see. Mizzou mentioned, Drinkwitz said it right. They're going to be playing a team that had playoff aspirations, that if it's an expanded playoff and they're in, is maybe, one of the favorites to win the whole thing. They only have one loss. They didn't go to their conference championship game, but that's just, how it was. I think it was just really cool. It's just cool to see Mizzou in a big game like that, even if it is a team that, has a lot of guys who understandably maybe aren't super invested in this game or even choose not to play because they have next level aspirations. But, still, I think spectacular to get the Buckeyes.
Yeah, it's still Ohio State at the end of the day. At the end of the day, rather. Their backups are 4 and 5 stars. This is the brand, one of the premier brands of Ohio State that Mizzou gets a crack at here. And everybody seems bought in. I know Drinkwitz said he expected everyone to. This comes from Gabe DeArmond on Twitter, Power Mizzou. Drinkwitz says he expects everyone to play in this game except potentially Ennis Rakestraw, who is dealing with an injury. Health will determine his availability. Drink says players who have chosen to transfer are welcome to attend the bowl game. I think that's very interesting as well. Guys like TJ Wesolak, Carmicah Glass, and all them. So, the linebacker depth, I know some people were a little concerned about that. May not even be a problem because Drinkwitz said, if you want to play in this game, you can come and play in it. Drink did go on to say that includes Tyron Hopper. So Tyron Hopper will be back for the bowl game. I really do hope that Ennis is able to play in this game. Kenny pointed it out earlier. This is near where he's from, Duncanville, Texas. This is going to be his last game potentially before he moves on to the next level. How fitting would that be where the first real moment in the Drinkwitz era that felt super important was Mizzou winning the recruiting battle for Ennis Rakestraw, that famous video of Drink going crazy for him as a lot of other SEC fans have said, just some 3-star that's now developed into a likely draft pick. And for that maybe to be capped off, for a guy from Duncanville, Texas to be capped off with a bowl game in Dallas, Texas, very fitting. I'm a sucker for stuff like that. So I hope Ennis is able to play. This is such a good draw for Mizzou. I can't overstate it enough.
A couple things there that I want to add on to talking about some of those guys that are invited back. I wonder even if like some of them would consider it because the transfer portal opens Monday when this will be
Mhm.
published. A lot of guys want to jump in there as soon as they can, get their names out there, get teams offering them, and they can land somewhere else, sign as fast as they can, commit as fast as they can. That'll be interesting to see. I wonder if there's ever like any hard feelings. You see in the post too. It's like I'm thankful to all these coaches, but I want to move on. I'm going to go somewhere else. I feel like it is, it's a great feeling to be a part of a team that goes to a BCS Bowl or to a New Year's Six Bowl, and that team also wins the New Year's Six Bowl. It's a great feeling. But at the end of the day, it's like I don't even feel like I'd be part of the team anymore. It was interesting to see how that shakes out, though. I'm interested to see what that list comes down to. Another thing I really liked is what Darius Robinson said about it. Is like this isn't the Armed Forces Bowl. This is a bigger deal. We're going back to DFW. Last time the Tigers were in a premier bowl like this, it was the Cotton Bowl. And Darius Robinson back then, it was a 14 15-year-old kid, 13-year-old kid just watching on, probably didn't really have much interest in Mizzou, but now he has an opportunity to go out with a win. He still doesn't have a bowl win. No one from on this team has won a bowl game that played for Mizzou. Like got some guys like Jay Jernigan is won one maybe when he was at Oklahoma State, but I mean there's not a lot of guys here with bowl win history behind them. I think I did a story about it a while back. I think Tyler Stevens is one of the only guys that actually has a bowl win behind him when he was in Buffalo. So it'll be interesting. This is a good way for them to go out. And I think we talked about it on here, might it with Wendell or Brandon of the Columbia Missourian. That I posted a photo of Darius Robinson walking out of the media room after the Gasparilla Bowl with Drinkwitz, and they were, had arms around each other. Didn't know if that was it for Darius. I feel like this is a great opportunity for him to go out cheerful with some merch on and not in that sad state.
Yeah, we said he had to recreate the photo.
Yeah, he does. And I want to add on to the Darius Robinson thing because he was one of the players that talked to the media after Mizzou got selected. He had two quotes that kind of show the type of person even that Darius Robinson is. Darius Robinson, I mean, he said he was asked about opting out of this game, and he said it was not even an option for him, not for 1 second. This is a dude that has like every reason on earth to opt out. He bet on Mizzou after last season. He would have probably been a mid-round pick. He bet on himself and Mizzou being able to make him into a higher-end draft pick. The move to DN paid off like in spades for him. And he's not done yet. I mean, he's still going to go out there, even though he's probably like a day 2 pick at this point. And he's going to try and bring home, like you said, Kenny. I mean, this is not the Armed Forces Bowl we're talking about. Like, this is a big deal for Mizzou. It's not a big deal for Ohio State. This is a huge deal for Mizzou.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned some of those quotes. I was going to run through some of them because I know Drinkwitz and some players talked. I mentioned the Connor Stallions thing, which he didn't say to local media. That was to Reese Davis on ESPN, which kind of made me laugh because I know Drinkwitz has said he's in the past that he's wanted to dial it back from some of those types of comments, but I don't think that's really one that, is obviously going to get him into any sort of, any people mad at him. I think everyone just thought it was funny. But yeah, from Callum McAndrew, I'm stealing some of these from Javon Foster. He said his dad played for Ohio State, so he called him immediately after the game and said after the game was selected and said pick a side. So maybe he'll have like a half and half jersey.
Mookie Cooper Bowl. I just realized that.
Yeah,
it's the Mookie Cooper Bowl.
Mookie Cooper Bowl.
You gotta get Mookie down here.
Revenge game from him. Cody Schrader said this is a legacy game for the senior class. You mentioned the Drinkwitz inviting players back. At the start of the year, Drinkwitz said at the start of the year, there was a poll, would we even make a bowl game? And it said we're going as one of the top teams in the country that's going to a New Year's Six. And I know he also said Ohio State is an opponent, worthy of being in the playoffs. So not one that they're going to treat lightly. Is there anything else from the players from Drink that I either missed or just final impressions? I know we're going to talk about this game more and more as it builds up toward it happening on the 29th, which it's still pretty far away. But I think to me it was weird not having a game on Saturday, and it feels like this game is happening on Saturday just because it's been so exciting.
I really like what the last thing I want to talk about, Darius, is him talking about, making it to this game is one thing, but winning it is another. If you don't win it, what's the point? That's what really sank in with me. It's like hearing from a guy hasn't won a bowl game before, who's been around, been through all the low, the downs and the, being beat up and on, at the bottom of the SEC, and now you're near the top. And I mean, making it there is awesome. You can get the shirts that say you were in the Cotton Bowl, but it means a lot more if you take home that trophy. And I think that's what really I took away from a guy of his character. Another thing I want to point out, and I don't know if this is new or not, I feel like I might have seen it before, but Mizzou Athletics has its own Winsipedia tab on their website now. I don't know if this is a newer thing or not, but I was looking into the history of Mizzou versus Ohio State. Shocker that Ohio State is 10-1 against Mizzou all time. The last time these two teams faced each other was September 19th, 1998. Ohio State won 35-14 at home. Last thing I just want to point out here, none of these games matter to what's going to happen at the end of December, but these teams faced each other 11 times. 10 of the games were in Columbus, Ohio. I don't know how schedule worked in the 40s and the 30s because it was crazy. From 1941 to 1949, they faced each other 9 times, all in Columbus.
Like consistently, like every year.
1 year they didn't face each other in 1942, but
so almost every year.
Almost every year. Yeah, it's just incredible. 1939 as well. They faced in Columbus, Ohio, and there was a tie in 1946.
Was Mizzou's one win? Was that in Columbus, or was that the only one in Columbia?
It was in Columbus on September 25th, 1976. 22-21.
The shoe couldn't believe it that day.
Interesting stat also I saw about Ohio State, and I mean we'll break into this more as we get closer to the game. They're 2-12 all time against the SEC in bowl games. I mean that is just kind of staggering to me. And obviously, look, when they're playing the SEC teams, they're playing like Bama and Georgia, like teams that are in the title game traditionally. But it's just kind of shocking to me that SEC stat.
History's not on their side. You never know. You never know.
Kenny, you got me going with that. He can wear a Cotton Bowl shirt now that says they're in it. Oh, I can't wait for the merch.
Oh yeah, Peyton's merch. The merch.
Oh man,
I can't wait for the uniform reveal. The uniform reveal they'll do.
One last thing about the Cotton Bowl.
They should drop it on Christmas just for you, Peyton.
When I came to Mizzou, or when I was thinking about going to Mizzou, it was like 2018, September. I was going on the websites looking for a Mizzou hat, went on Fanatics, and they still had Cotton Bowl hats from 2014, like for sale on Fanatics. Worst hats I've ever seen. So if you're a big merch guy, I think you should be hoping that it's not orange and blue and looks like a Boise State hat like it did back then.
Yeah, the branding's come a long way since then, even though that was only like 9 years ago. But yeah, we'll see. We'll dive into all of it, obviously, as December kind of kicks on. Peyton, I think you brought him up. You mentioned some of the transfers, guys entering the portal, just some housekeeping stuff. Jeremiah Glass, the linebacker, is one of those. What did I just say? You
said Jeremiah or something.
Jesus,
like
wow.
that.
I just yeah, you're totally right. I just get rid of the last C. Carmicah Glass, sorry, Carmicah, is in the portal. He is one of those who can come to the bowl game, like you both said.
He's not in the portal. Now he might not be in the portal till after the bowl game. So.
Oh.
You can't play if you're officially in the portal.
I guess because the portal doesn't open till Monday. But he is decreeing that he will enter the portal. When that is, we don't know. But another kind of rotation guy. Did he play at all this year?
If he played, it was on special teams. He did not play.
He didn't play at all. He didn't play a single snap.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean that's the third linebacker, fourth if you want to count Wesselek switching back and forth. I mean it's Simmons, Carmicah, and Damian Wilson who have all said they're going to enter. I remember Carmicah and Damian Wilson were both like kind of hyped up recruits. They got passed up by some really good guys. I mean, Newsom has been great. Hicks has been largely good outside of one game. Hopper, obviously, we know about him. And Chad Bailey, before he got hurt, was, just a great sixth-year guy. It's a shame he won't be able to cap off his career with this bowl game. But, yeah, it makes sense they're looking to move on. Maybe they'll stay for the bowl game. Maybe they won't. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
It's very, I guess, sucky for how Carmicah Glass's career really started. Even though you're not playing a lot your freshman season, to have it like just totally wiped out by a season-ending surgery before things even get going, is pretty shitty. And you kind of look at where that linebacker position was last year. He could have really stepped up and found some spot as a rotation guy this year as depth. We've seen Hopper and Chad Bailey both being out. If he could have really moved in there, and he was a 3-star. I mean, he wasn't a lower end 3-star. He was ranked 37th in the state of Louisiana. Not terrible, and he could have really found a spot, but very unfortunate for how that all played out.
And we'll see what ends up with his situation. See if he travels for the bowl game. Other things. Speaking of bowls, not Mizzou's, but the Reese's Senior Bowl. Tyron Hopper and Ennis Rakestraw have both accepted their invites, so we will have at least 2 Tigers on the defensive side of the ball who will appear in the Senior Bowl, which is just such a fun watch. I think it's just like, if you're just a football fan, it's an enjoyable game just to watch. You hear like they do a good job of telling the stories of all these players, what they did the last year, how their draft stock might be. But good for these two to have this showcase kind of before they, like Peyton mentioned with Ennis and Hopper as well, hopefully end up at the next level somewhere.
We'll actually have 3 because Abrams Green is also going to be in it. So very well represented, this Mizzou defense. I don't think it's overly shocking. Or wait, has Darius Robinson?
Yeah,
he
it's 4.
We got 4. Oh my God,
4.
It's the whole defense.
So, yeah, really cool to see all of them in. I think it's like I said earlier. I mean, all 4 of these guys have every reason in the world to opt out of this, and for Drink to say they're all going to play Ennis if he's able to, if he's healthy enough. I think that says just a lot about what this team has accomplished this year. And yeah, all 4 of these guys, I mean, these are all 4 probably going to wind up being draft picks.
Yeah,
for sure. And I'm going back and looking at the watch list at the beginning of the year. Theo Weiss, Darius Robinson, Ennis Rakestraw, Nate Pete, Cameron Johnson, Tyron Hopper, Javon Foster, Joseph Charleston, Jalen Carleys, Chad Bailey, and Cad were all the Mizzou Tigers on the watch list. It's pretty interesting to see that Nate Pete was on there, and then the other running back probably has a better chance of being invited to the Senior Bowl, and Cody Schrader. I think other guys on there, Javon Foster, we're still waiting. I would assume that he is also going to take that step and go into the Senior Bowl as well. We know that he has draft aspirations. We know NFL teams are interested in him just from the buzz. But a lot of other guys on there. I don't know if Joseph Charleston, Jalen Carleys had the big seasons to get back into that contention. Cameron Johnson looks like a guy who's going to come back and remain on the offensive line. Interesting to see where that kind of goes forward as the people start opting out and you start to figure out who's going to be at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, definitely. It's a thing to keep an eye on, and a good opportunity for those guys. It's always fun to see. We've had it down the years with like Nick Bolton and even Tyler Beatty in the later. I like some of these guys getting drafted. It's cool to see. So as many Tigers as you can get into the league. We'll see how it goes. Last housekeeping thing before we get to our interview, and house is an appropriate word for what I'm about to describe. Are you guys interested in buying or selling any real estate, Kenny and Peyton? Kenny, I know you're in the housing market. You flip houses, left and right.
Flat out lying.
That's not true. Yeah. No, but this is just kind of fun. Kelly Bryant, former Mizzou quarterback. He is now a realtor for J.W. Martin Real Estate. I know we have Bet Online, but I think we should reach out and do an ad read for these guys featuring Kelly Bryant. But he's a realtor now. Yeah, no, I mean, he never wound up catching on in the NFL. It's a shame. He was obviously the quarterback when us 3 were freshmen in 2019. I know a lot of people have mixed opinions on Kelly Bryant's time in Mizzou. I loved Kelly Bryant. I was like, oh my God, I'm a freshman in college, and this dude I was watching play in the college football playoff is the quarterback for my team. So I'll always have a soft spot for Kelly Bryant. Glad to see he's still he's found a good career path, really. I mean, real estate's obviously great for him. Lucrative.
Lucrative. And he's always hyping up Mizzou, so he's got a lot of love.
I was going to say, that's why I like him. Like, you don't need to have that kind of ties when you only played for like a season and it didn't go your way. Like, you could easily just slack off, but he still is always retweeting about Mizzou stuff. So I love it for him. It was a fun run. I wish it was a little better for Kelly.
My only thing I want to add to this is that hopefully one day, I guess it wouldn't make sense this year, but I wish that one day Kelly Bryant comes back, Joseph Charleston comes back, and Nick Honor comes back, and we get a photo of all three of the former Clemson guys together. I think that would just make me feel great. Like no one else cares about that, but probably me. That
I
all
was
three of
gonna
them
say
are
always
Tigers.
Ken's sports shorting. One of my biggest regrets was last year not making a map of where all the men's basketball players had come from previously, because it was a wild. Like Demoy Hodge or DeAndre Golston went to like 4 colleges. Same with Sean East. Speaking of basketball, we'll get to that. But first, we're going to do our interview with Kimberly Beaudin. We talked to her all about Jeremy Maclin, College Football Hall of Fame. So great interview. We'll get to that. Okay, we now welcome on a very, very special guest. We are speaking with Kimberly Beaudin, the President and Chief Executive Officer for the National College Football Hall of Fame. We've gone big time in the college football realm. We're actually having her on because our podcast is getting inducted here in the class of 2023. I'm completely kidding.
There you go.
But no, we're really excited to talk with you, Kimberly. And the main reason is, of course, because one of the great inductees in the 2023 class to the College Football Hall of Fame is Jeremy Maclin, Mizzou's own.
Yep.
And so we do want to talk with you about him. But kind of first and foremost, I mean, you know, with this Hall of Fame inductee class, I know this has been going on for a long time, you know, in the College Football Hall of Fame. Could you talk a little bit just about like kind of the process? You know, I know there's 22 people in total, 18 players, 4 coaches. You know, how is that kind of all decided? How do you guys, you know, pick all those names, find all of them, get them, you know, get that class kind of prepared to where it's getting inducted here in 2023?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's a great question. And it is actually a pretty rigorous process. There have been over 6 million players and coaches since the first game in 1869, and less than 0.02% have actually been inducted into the Hall of Fame. So it is pretty rarefied air. And the process is kind of the first and foremost criteria for a player that they have to be a first team All-America. And that's either consensus or unanimous by one of the recognized entities out there, and that really limits the playing field, so to say, when you think about quarterbacks and some of the other positions where there's maybe only 1 or 2 a year. So that first team All-America is really important. The second criteria is they have to be 10 years removed from their last college game. So there is that window. And then they cannot be an active pro. And that's really more just timing because the induction ceremony is coming up, on Tuesday, and it just makes that challenging. But one of the things most people don't realize is the school has to nominate the player or the coach.
Oh, okay.
Right. So it's not like I can just say, oh, wow, man, I really believe that Tim Tebow should be in the College Football Hall of Fame. And then they'll put him on the ballot. Now, the school has to nominate them. And a lot of the schools have a lot of players that, kind of fit those qualifications. And so once the school nominates a player, then they make it onto they go through honors court, and a ballot is released every year. And the ballot's released in June. So we do already have the ballot out for the 2024 class. And then once the ballot's out, and, some of the NFF chapters and NFF members have an opportunity to vote, all that comes back in, goes through honor court one more time, and that's how they land on the class. And the coaches criteria is a 600 winning percentage, coached at least 100 games, and 10 years active as a head coach.
Another question I had, so it says obviously that they get officially inducted at the NFF annual awards dinner in Las Vegas on December 5th. What's kind of the ceremony like? Like, when will they, is there anything public? Like when they get inducted, kind of what's that induction process like?
Right. So the induction process is still conducted by the National Football Foundation, and it has been a very long-standing ceremony. It was in New York for over 60 years. And it is, a 3-hour, you can stream, it's actually streamed on ESPN Plus. And it's just a really special night. It's an opportunity. You get to learn about their careers, see highlights. It's also an opportunity for the the Campbell Trophy finalist and award winner as well, which is the Scholar Athlete of the Year. That's also something awarded by the National Football Foundation. So, and it really is just a who's who of the college football world, right? So all the coaches come back, all the commissioners and ADs, and it is just it's a really special event. What we do is an enshrinement ceremony. So after they are officially inducted, then we become their permanent home, and we do an enshrinement ceremony. And this year's will be in May, where we invite the new class back and actually give them the opportunity to see how they're their immortality, kind of immortalized in this a hologram of our Hall of Fame. And so that's a really special event, and we do have some public facing opportunities around that.
Yeah, very cool. I have to ask, and we were just talking about him. I mean, I see the Florida Gators helmet behind you. I mean, I know all these inductees are very cool, but it's got to be pretty special to see Tebow, going in this year. You mentioned the jersey. I mean, even as a Mizzou fan and like SEC fans, I mean, everybody, it was Tebow mania when he was around.
It was crazy when he was there, and yes, that you can definitely see the Gator helmet, and actually that Gator football is signed by him also. Nice. We screened he released a movie in 2019 with Eddie George and the 2 Heisman winners, and it was called Run the Race, and it was incredible. And we screened it here during the Super Bowl, and that was a thank you. So it is pretty special. We're actually doing something with him in the SEC network a little later today, where we're going to surprise and delight a fan that is kind of looking at his display and doesn't know he's going to be there. So that's going to be pretty cool.
Tim just always seems like the coolest guy ever. I mean, when you're thinking about these speeches they're going to give here in the next week, I bet he's going to have a pretty special one for everybody.
He will. He's such an eloquent public speaker anyway, and his story is so amazing. And just to see, this is just another, kind of amazing accomplishment in his career. And he married Miss Universe. I mean, come on. It's but no, he is always very gracious with his time and gracious with fans, and most of I would say 90% of the Hall of Famers they're just incredible. They're incredible people.
If I was him, I would just repeat over and over the "I will work harder than anyone has ever worked" the speech he gave after their loss. That would just be my speech for anything I did.
Yeah. No one will work harder. No one.
Yeah.
Yep. That's something we should probably all channel every now and then.
Yeah.
Talking about speeches, though, looking at last year, Gary Pinkel, former Mizzou head coach, we were all pretty excited to see that happen.
Yes.
Gary can be an emotional guy, and talking with him about it, he was very emotional because he felt like it was an award for everyone and not just him.
Right.
I mean, with the conversations you had with Gary and just things you heard, I mean, what can you say about him?
What I can say is what an amazing human being, like getting to meet him and his wife. And they came again for that enshrinement ceremony, and just the opportunity to spend time with them. You could tell he was just extremely humble and so honored to be included, with the group. And it was every year it's a pretty amazing class. And we should probably send you the clip when he spoke, when he got his jacket, because we do a jacket ceremony here. Mm-hmm. And so we can send you that. It was pretty great. All the guys had an opportunity to speak and kind of tell the story and tell what it means to them. And so, he was fun. We all went to the Peach Bowl together and did kind of a ceremony on the field. And it was a good group of guys, for sure.
And obviously, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, now another a player that Gary Pinkel coached in Jeremy Maclin going in. I mean, what kind of set him apart in the voting process? I know obviously the players and the coaches vote on it, but what kind of maybe set him apart from maybe other candidates that got him in this year?
I think just his accomplishments, quite frankly. And I mean, he very, very deserving. He's been a good person, kind of off the field as well. And I think that's an important part of the criteria, just to kind of see how, these former players, are in their community as they continue, to give back and participate. So, first team All-American and nominated by Missouri. And, those are really some that are kind of hard to turn away when you look at the stats of the career.
Yeah.
And I do have what is in his locker.
Yeah, we would love to. Yeah, what's going in the Maclin display?
So we have a Missouri helmet. We have a plaque from the 2008 Missouri Sports Hall of Fame where he was honored, and then we have a couple of media guides that feature him in them. So I know he was super busy in the fall coaching. So so we were able to gather quite a few things, which is great.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm curious. This is maybe a slightly goofy question. If you don't know, that's okay. Do you know what is on the helmet? Is it just the regular Tiger logo? Is it the Block M?
No, it's just the regular. It's the regular helmet.
Okay.
Yeah, it is not. It is. It's not a game worn, but it is an authentic helmet. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Yeah, we're big. We love doing Mizzou's uniform reveal every week. So we get big into what kind of helmets they're wearing, what kind of.
Yeah, no, that's fun. And we actually, one of our first, because you talk about that locker room exhibit. So that is in our special exhibit space. So it rotates. So
cool.
What will go in there in January is a really cool exhibit, Big Ten Coast to Coast. So you kind of think about the evolution of the Big Ten, and that's going to be a fun. But one of the early exhibits we did was alternate helmets.
Oh, and cool.
People loved it. I mean, there's some really, really cool alternate helmets out there. So I think we're about ready. That was about 7 years ago. So I think we're about ready to bring that back.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Looking ahead now, we talked about the 2024 class. Is the ballots out there and who's going to be out there? Can you kind of explain, what the process looks like moving forward with those guys and when they would kind of find out that, we're going to get inducted?
Absolutely. And it's a pretty special process. So the announcement comes during the national championship. So the class has already been selected and is kind of sealed and under wraps. What happens is how the players find out, players and coaches find out, is they'll literally get a Hall of Fame football in the mail that they don't, they're not expecting it. And all of a sudden, one day it shows up and they open it and there's this football and a letter saying, "Welcome to the College Football Hall of Fame." And many of them have described that as incredibly, incredibly emotional moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how that works. And so those will be going out first of the year, and then the class will be announced. And they usually try to do a couple of surprises. So they surprised Tebow on air last year. Yes, and they surprised Charles Woodson a couple of years ago on air. And they did David Pollock, as well. So during game day. So they have a lot of fun with, especially the ones that are kind of still in the media, being able to surprise them.
I remember Gary Pinkel was talking about when he got his football, he didn't think anything of it because when he gets footballs in the mail, he was thinking, "Oh, someone's asking me to sign something. I'll do this later." And then he got it, and that's what I was talking about. You said it too, very emotional about it because he feels like it's an award for everyone and not just him. So I definitely I've heard it before, how much that means to them because they have no idea it's coming.
They have no idea it's coming, and then you have that moment of trying to process it, right? And then I think that revelation and that moment is just got to be, just to have achieved that pinnacle, right? That so few people do. It's still less than 300 coaches.
Right. And and you said every school nominates their own candidate. So I'm just curious, sorry, what was it? What were you going to say?
I was just going to say they can, right? Not all
they can nominate, right?
Right. Not all do.
Okay.
But and certainly the National Football Foundation works with the schools to make sure they're aware and hey, who's eligible and those kinds of things. It's an ongoing relationship. But yeah, that to be considered, the school has to nominate.
For sure. And I'm just curious, the voting process. If somebody is not maybe elected the first time around, do they get another chance the next year?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
They stay on the ballot. Yes, once you're on the ballot, you're on the ballot. But there is a 50-year rule. So once you're 50 years from your last game. So then you're no longer eligible. So, and there's a few, nuances. Some people try to, like, first ballot is not kind of what you think of it is with baseball or pro, because there are some things where, the National Football we try not to put back-to-back players. So there will likely not be a University of Florida player next year, even if one's on the ballot and nominated and that kind of thing, just to try to, because it is such a huge landscape of eligible players. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to cover a wide base. You brought up some of the features just about the College Football Hall of Fame. I remember I went. I was at SEC Media Days last summer, and so that's obviously down in Atlanta too. And so I got to walk around a little bit, and it's super cool. I'm just curious, like, what other stuff you can touch on? I particularly want to ask about the giant display of helmets that's in that atrium out there. Are those?
That's where I'm saying we need to light the Truman State
one. Yeah. So it needs to be another one. Yeah.
Yeah. There's 775 schools represented, and that is every 4-year college, D1 down to NAIA that has a 4-year football program. The best is when people come in and they're like, you do not have our helmet. And we're like, yes, we do. And they're like, no, you don't. We're like, yes, we do. And, and then we light it and find it for them. And they're really excited. That is kind of that first thing you see when you walk in. And so it is really fun, especially kids, man. When they see it, their eyes just light up. They're, jaw drops, and they just, first thing, where's my helmet? Where's my helmet? Where's my helmet? And then they spend a lot of time, well, what's that helmet? What's that helmet? And so we've got some fan ambassadors that have gotten very good at knowing where all the helmets are. And that's a pretty good feat given how many there are on there. The other thing that's cool with that is when your school lights up, we capture that. And so we know, from day one through today, how many times the Missouri helmet's been lit, how many times, each helmet on the wall has been lit. And that's just a really good marker for us, just for fan data and stuff like that. But we do capture all of that information. And I think we're going to use it we turn 10 in Atlanta. So the Hall of Fame has its 10th anniversary in Atlanta next year. And we're going to kind of really try to create a fan base Hall of Fame and use that as kind of a litmus test.
Cool.
So
we're talking a lot about helmets. We brought up the helmet behind you, Florida Gators. I can't let you go without asking your thoughts on the Florida Mizzou game this year and how you kind of felt after Mizzou was chomping on you guys as you guys were leaving the field.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the act like you've been there before, but then you also understand, if you don't want them chomping, then win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was at last Saturday, obviously rivalry day, Florida State. I think it was at the grocery store, but I was wearing Gator gear because I was going to a watch party, and these ladies, nice as they could be, drove by in Florida State shirts and were tomahawk chopping at me as they drove by. And they were nice as they could be about it, but that's kind of why I have a job.
Right?
Is that you just don't get that with any other sport. Like college football to me is just so unique in that culture. I tell people I get paid to talk smack for a living. So, and I've gotten pretty good at it. So I can't, if I'm going to dish it, then you got to be able to take it.
Yeah, for sure. I like that comment. Like college football is just so unique with its fandoms. Unique. It's so much fun. Like there's so much just vitriol and back and forth, and it's great. That's why we do what we do too. Like we love the discourse about it for sure.
So our whole campaign now is the team you love, the teams you love to hate. Like
that's a good one.
I mean, it's true. You there's almost as much passion around how much you hate, Florida State or Miami as there is with how much you love Florida.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, Kimberly, thank you so much. I mean, this was awesome just to learn more. I mean, about, what's going on in Jeremy Maclin's locker, about where people can go watch. So it's a stream, and what day is that on again?
It's on Tuesday night. Yep.
Tuesday night.
Tuesday night. It starts at 7:00 in Vegas time.
Cool.
So, a little later, but it'll be streaming live. And it's just a really special night. And then, we'll make sure you guys get, first of all, make sure you get Gary Pinkel's speech.
Yeah, we would love to have that.
Yeah, it was just really cool. And then, we'll make sure that you guys get information for when we're going to be doing kind of the enshrinement here.
Yeah, great. Yeah, we'd love to have that.
We'll get Jeremy here and, get his jacket. The jackets we do have custom lining. So it'll have the Mizzou logo and the Hall of Fame logo.
Oh,
Sweet.
cool.
Yeah, in the line. So they're
Cool.
they're special. Yeah. So
How much do we have to pay to get one of those? Do we just have to be really good at football? Is it that
You have to
exclusive?
be really good. You have to be a first team All America.
Oh, yeah, I'm not that.
Yeah. So if we're getting
Cool.
they're platinum. So I kind of felt like, okay, well, that's fine. Pro Football Hall of Fame has gold jackets. Well, we're gonna have platinum ones.
Platinum. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
That's
So
very cool. Well,
that'd be great. So
yeah.
well, thank you for having me. And let's, if Missouri ends up coming for the Peach Bowl, then we'll have to talk about having people here and getting people down here and tailgate parties and all kinds
Oh yeah. The Mizzou fans will be there no matter, where their bowl game is. It's been a special year for them. So
Yeah, no, I absolutely. And I will say I was recently introduced to a comedian Greg Warren. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he went to Missouri. He's from Missouri. You should look him up. He's hilarious.
Yeah.
And he does kind of a whole thing on college football and really college football cheers. And, he does make fun of, Missouri. He's like Mizzou. And he's like, that's not even close to how you spell Missouri. Right. Because he makes fun of it takes two people to spell Ohio. And
Yep.
so you should check him out because he is
Yeah.
is a Mizzou grad and a funny guy.
Cool.
We're
Yeah.
big
Well,
comedy
thank you so
fans,
much, Kimberly.
No, it was my pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, we're recording this on Sunday. A couple, like an hour after Mizzou men's basketball just finished up an 82-72 win over Wichita State. It was an interesting game. I think let's start with the good. Defensively was where Mizzou really came alive pretty much from the jump. I think Wichita State started the game with 3 shots and about 6 turnovers. They ended up finishing with 18 turnovers. Missouri turned those into 20 points off of said turnovers, but still only won by 10. Payne and Kenny, how concerned should we be, if at all, about a 10-point win over definitely not a bad Wichita State team? I mean, this game went to overtime last year. Granted, it was in Wichita, but still, I think a solid performance, especially on the defensive end for the Tigers.
I would say not at all. Missouri was, even on Ken Palm and Torvik, they were only favored by about 5 or 6 in this game. Wichita State, not a bad team at all. They're not like a huge resume builder, but this is a nice feather to put in your cap come March. There were some things you still want to see cleaned up. There were a few players that just weren't efficient from the field. Noah Carter didn't have a fantastic day. But overall, Missouri's not going to win rebounding games very much, if ever. But what they need to do to mitigate that is force a lot of turnovers and block a lot of shots. They did that today. Aiden Shaw in particular, he's now in the SEC lead in blocked shots. You can tell, yes, you look at the box score, 4 fouls, no points, but he's really, he's getting closer. As a defender, as a shot blocker, he's got some very good stretches under his belt. It's just a matter of ironing out that offensive game. That might be the next step in the process for him.
Totally agree with you. I never felt like this. This felt like a good game for the Tigers to me. It felt like they were taking a step forward, playing more cohesive basketball. I'm still looking at a couple guys that are playing a lot more. Pierce got 6 minutes, Butler got 10 minutes. Talking about the freshman, Anthony Robinson, 14 minutes, 2 steals. He looked like he was, continuing to make those strides to be a starter in the SEC one day. And it never felt like the game was in Wichita State's hands. In my opinion, there were stretches where they got within 2 points, within 1 point, within the 3. But the Tigers ran away with it at the end. You talk about Sean East, another 36 minutes. That guy is just a workhorse. 22 points. 3-ball looks a lot better from him as well. And Nick Connor had a big deep three. Like, I mean, when he finds it, it's green. That's just who he is. But nonetheless, it really just felt like a good game for the Tigers. And Wichita State entered at 7-1. Not really many great games behind them. You look at maybe some teams that have had better histories in Richmond and SLU. You maybe point to those, but it was their first Power 5 game for Wichita State, and the Tigers handed them their second loss of the season.
Okay, I'm glad you guys both said that because I agreed. This wasn't a game I ever felt like I was never worried that it would slip away from Mizzou. They led for 38 minutes, did not trail at all. They were tied for about a minute and a half at one point. Yeah, so I agree. I think a 10-point win, like, sure, it could have been more with how many turnovers you forced. I think that's what I kept saying for myself. Like, geez, only a 6-point game. They forced, 16 turnovers. But, I think, in the end they pulled away and the guys did their job. 2 takeaways that I had, I'll let you guys expand maybe a little bit more on Sean East if you'd like. I mentioned this to y'all. I discovered a rotation I think I really like from this Tigers team. Wichita State couldn't really move the ball. That's how we've seen, teams beat the Tigers defense this year is like you can swing the ball really fast. You can get open in those short corners or for those corner threes and you hit your shots. Not only did Wichita State not hit their shots, 29% from three is not great. But they also, they moved a little bit slower. And that was where I thought Noah Carter and then Connor Vanover in the post, I thought really had some success. They need to figure out their communication a little bit. There were some second chance points that Wichita State got. I'm getting in a little bit of the nitty gritty here. But against a slower team that maybe, lacks some of the guard skill that some of these other SEC teams do. I think that lineup can be really great just going, kind of ultra big there. You let Noah Carter play the 4. You can switch him around a little bit more. He's not stuck in the post. Versus Connor Vanover, you can literally just stick in the post. I mean, he doesn't guard anybody when they come down the court. He stands at the restricted circle and he blocks shots. And that's really all you need him to do. I don't know if y'all have any thoughts on that. But then, of course, Sean East, Kenny mentioned him. Dog, 22 points. The offense just ran through him today. And I think it's like, that's something that needs to happen going forward. And hopefully he can continue this consistency because he is an awesome player when he's on.
Yeah, I like that you hit on that with those Vanover Carter matchups. There were like a few times where it's like a couple guys just Wichita late in the game got uncontested into the rim. That can't really happen. But Vanover in general just looks like he's getting a little more comfortable and he's had a lot of stretches of good play. He hit a 3 today. That was nice to see. It's really good when you can have him stretch the floor for you for a bit. But what I really loved about East was just how, this is only the second game where we've had the starting 5 of Bates, Shaw, East, Honor, and Carter. But both of the games, that looks like the most cohesive 5, when they're out on the floor. East in general in that second half, there were so many times where he's just so comfortable with how he handles the ball. Just dribbles right up to the baseline, no fear. Just will penetrate as close to the baseline as he can, wrap back around, kick it out for an open 3. He did that to Grill a couple times, I remember. Grill also, I thought, had a better day. He's making more and more of his threes, which is nice to see. And I loved how Mizzou used their 7-footers. Even Mayotte got in the game a little bit. If you can get Vanover and Butler to stand a foot from the hoop, East has been able to find them up high for just the easiest dunk you've ever seen. He did it 4 or 5 times today. So it looks like Mizzou as a team is getting more comfortable, just with each other out there. Certainly feel a lot better about the team than I did a week ago even.
For sure. And talking about the offense going through them, 9 assists there for Sean East and automatic from 3. It felt like 2, 3 for 4. We did see that one missed free throw where he looked pretty pissed that he missed it after that technical foul against Caleb Grill. But 7 for 8 from the line and all around looked a lot better. I think rebounding is still something that the Tigers need to improve on. They were out rebounded 48-32, and Harlan Beverly had 17 boards for Wichita State, which I thought was incredible for a guy who's playing on the wing. Not even the biggest guy on the floor for Wichita State, but rebounds are something to keep looking for or keep improving on. Another thing I just want to point about Wichita State, they have a 7-man rotation. Only 2 guys.
Yeah,
came off
that's
the bench.
crazy.
And
That's
that was
crazy for
very
this point in the
interesting to see.
season.
Yeah, especially when you compare it to what the Tigers have been doing.
Yeah. I thought that was wild to see at this point in the season when normally your rotations, because I think Mizzou's will likely eventually thin out a little bit more. I know Dennis likes to use a lot of guys, but a 7-man, in December, I think is wild. Yeah, I think you both brought up some great points. I think the rebounding can evolve. Again, I think this team is just overall probably going to struggle there. But it's about communication. I mean, this defense is still very much in a work in progress. I think they just need to improve on, hitting their spots, switching, knowing who's where. There were a couple times like Vanover and Carter got in each other's way. And like, there was one that they ended up fumbling the ball out of bounds. Thankfully it was they called a shot clock violation, because I think Vanover blocked it. But I'm like, you guys are in the same spot doing kind of the same things. There just needs to be some natural cohesion there, and that'll come with time. I love what Peyton said about Shawnee's just dribbling to the commentators asked in this game, like, does Shawnee's dribble too much? And the co-commentator was like, no, they just what he does. Like, he just gets into the lane, he penetrates, and then he finds his teammate, or he scores himself. So that was great to see. And then, yeah, I'm just taking another look at this Aiden Shaw stat line. It's just so funny. 0 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks, 4 fouls in 13 minutes on the court. It's given me like a better Thanasis Antetokounmpo vibe. Like, he's just a workhorse guy. He took 1 shot. He took 1 corner 3 the entire game. But if that's what you can have him be, yeah, I mean, if this is your starting 5, because I agree with Peyton, like, I love this starting 5, if that's what it's going to be, and he just gives you 5 minutes and then gets subbed out, you can take him out for another guard and go smaller. You take him out for another big and go bigger, put him back in. He makes a couple hustle plays. Maybe that's just how Aiden Shaw is progressing. I don't know. But any other final Wichita State thoughts? We're going to get into Kansas on Friday's show. Talk about that.
Shout out Ronnie.
Shout out Ronnie.
Stuff he couldn't play, but glad. I know the Antlers had a sign that just said "Sup, Ronnie," so glad to see he wasn't heckled. So
yeah, good to definitely good to see that. We got a couple close-up shots. I think when Wichita State hit threes, they would go on the bench and see him. So hope to see him playing for the Shockers. We are a Ronnie DeGray podcast. But yeah, other quick basketball things. Had to shout this out. This one a little viral in Mizzou and kind of just on basketball circles. Peyton Marshall, one of the many star-studded Mizzou commits, blocked the shit out of a guy in the Overtime Elite League. I can't really describe it any other way. It was crazy. And honestly, someone else showed me the clip and I was like, geez, that's disgusting. And it didn't have a name. And then I looked it up later and I was like, oh my God, that was Peyton Marshall. This guy's a Mizzou commit. Electric
only
play.
Half of what he did too on that.
Oh
play.
yeah. Oh my God. In the end of it, he throws the ball off the dude lying out of bounds. Great energy. I'm loving that energy from him.
Yeah. And the commentators knew immediately what he was doing. Like, they went, oh yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, throwing it off him as well. It was going to be a 4v5. I thought he could have had an opportunity to push the ball down the floor, but I guess
Overtime.
I thought it was fun.
You coach, you.
Overtime
That's
Elite.
A great coach thing to say.
Overtime Elite's ex bio says hi haters. So
yeah, that's the type of league where you throw
type
it
of league this
onto
is.
the guy. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a commentator. The commentator, when he blocks out of bounds, he just went, "That's actually insane." And then the other guy was like, "I've never seen anything this disrespectful."
No, that's
before.
actually insane. Yeah, those were the commentators.
It's not an uber serious league. I don't love that he's playing in that league. It's fine for him as a high schooler. I have some critiques of that league other ways, but he's clearly dominating. So good for Peyton Marshall. And then other guy dominating at the pro level a little bit, Demoy Hodge. 35 points, 4 rebounds, 7 threes for the South Bay Lakers. We talked about him briefly last week with Benny because he went like back-to-back nights for hitting shots in the actual NBA, but good to see him cooking in the G League.
Yeah, no, good to see. I think this was his first game after he actually played in against, I don't remember, the Pistons. That's right. So good to see he's still
Cool.
getting some work in.
I did like on the graphic as well from the G League. They let you know that 35 points and the 7 made 3-pointers are a career high in the G League for Demoy Hodge. If you didn't know, I was thinking about it. I was like, I
breaking
guess
what, like 2?
yeah, I was like, for me, I was like, huh. I guess it wasn't really tough for him since he hasn't played in many games in the G League.
Yeah.
But there we go.
Yeah, shout out to Moy. Good to see him balling. I mean, those guys will get chances. I mean, the G League is a very, that's a real pipeline that can be beneficial to a lot of NBA players. I mean, you look at what the Miami Heat has done with some of those undrafted guys. Like, they'll get opportunities if they show off. So yeah, we'll keep track with him. But with that, that'll wrap it up for Mizzou stuff. We'll segue to quick hits. Close out the show, gents. Okay, quick hits time. Thought Peyton, there it is. Quick hits time. Kenny, I throw it over to you for Ken's sports shorts.
Well, I told you guys everything about Ohio State and how Mizzou, what their history against.
You kind of ruined that one for a potential Ken sports shorts down the line.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you guys about it, that I found that part of the
Mizzou
website. So Ken sports shorts this week has to do with Ronnie DeGray. Talked a little bit about him and how he's with Wichita State now. I want you guys to give me the 4 Power 5 schools that offered Ronnie DeGray out of high school. I will give you the conferences. There's 1 SEC, 1 Big 10, 1 Pac-12, and 1 Big 12. So no ACC in that group, but one from each of the other original Power 5 conferences, and you guys will have to give me which schools they are. We'll start in the SEC.
Oh, this is going to be incredibly hard.
Wow, this is deep Ronnie DeGray lore.
Yeah. Okay, so Ronnie, I know, is from Colorado.
Yep, Parker, Colorado.
I don't think it would have been Colorado that offered him. I know we're guessing SEC. I'm just trying to think about it right now. That Colorado, I don't know if Colorado would have offered him because I feel like Ronnie would have just gone there. And he obviously went to UMass to start. SEC. I want to say a Vanderbilt or one of the Mississippis, maybe. It wouldn't have been Missouri, I don't think. Although maybe that's why he wound up coming to Missouri. I'm gonna go Vanderbilt. I'm gonna guess Vanderbilt.
Jack.
Mississippi State.
Okay, I'll give you guys a third guess. You guys are both wrong. I'll give you 3 on each one. Here's your final one. Put your heads together.
All right, what do we think here? So it's not Mississippi State, not Vanderbilt. I don't think it's Missouri. I really don't. I feel like we would have heard that story at some point.
So he started at UMass, right?
Yes, he started at UMass, transferred to Missouri, and now he's at Wichita.
Yeah.
Florida? Obviously, it's not Kentucky or Tennessee
Georgia?
or anything.
Ooh, I like Georgia.
Ooh, Georgia.
Georgia.
Let's make sure we know all the options.
All
We
right,
also got
right.
I could
I'm an
feel an
impatient
Ole
guesser.
Miss here. I could feel an A&M here. I do kind of like the Georgia one. Could be a South Carolina. That might be my second one if we had 4 guesses. I'll rock with the Georgia guess, though. I'll rock with Georgia.
You guys are incorrect. According to 247, he had interest from 2 SEC programs. One of those was Ole Miss, which didn't offer him. The school that did offer him was Arkansas, and that was his lone SEC.
Oh,
really? Wow.
Yeah, I thought that one was really interesting.
Well, we always
I'm
knew he
very
was a smart
surprised by
guy, and that proves
Yeah.
it. He did not take that.
Next one, we're going to go with the Big Ten here. Same rules apply.
So, obviously, Nebraska is a state over. It's a long drive.
Oh, yeah? It's pretty close.
But it's a state over. He feels like a Minnesota type to me, sort of. I think that might be one of the guesses.
Yeah.
Could be in Iowa. But I like the Minnesota one. I'm going to go Minnesota.
I will guess.
So that wasn't
Illinois.
correct.
Okay, you guys are
What?
both incorrect. Put your heads together.
Burn a guess on Illinois.
He could have gone to Illinois.
No, he couldn't have. He went to UMass. He was not getting Illinois recruitments.
Oh, you're right. Illinois is really good. I was thinking them for football.
Yeah.
Oops.
Jesus. I mean, he went to the Northeast.
That was a boneheaded guess.
Could Rutgers
Oh, yeah?
be play here? Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is that your
We
guess?
just- We
Penn
just
State?
lit a guess on fire with Illinois, so we really have to make sure we get it right here. I
Rutgers.
think it's probably either Rutgers or Nebraska. I'll go Rutgers,
Choose one.
I guess.
Rutgers.
It was Nebraska. You really danced around that
Thanks
one.
for guessing Illinois!
0 for 2. Okay, third
I was gonna
Third
guess
school.
Nebraska too.
What a
is in the Big
horrible
12.
guess.
Yeah, I wasn't really thinking.
All right, it's fine. We'll
Big
get this
12?
one.
Big 12.
This Oklahoma State just feels like a perfect, like a glove.
Yeah, I was thinking them or maybe
Oklahoma
Kansas
State.
State.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
I'm
is.
gonna go
It is Oklahoma State. You guys
Nice,
were pretty
Pete.
quick. You guys got it there. Iowa State, Kansas State, and Texas Tech also expressed interest, but no offer according to 247 Sports. Last one, the Pac-12. This one could be a little bit tough. I think that gives it away by me saying that.
Tough. Buffaloes.
No, that'd be way too easy.
He would have gone to Colorado, I think.
He had interest from Colorado, but no
This
offer.
makes me think it's like USC.
I don't know. I could see
Or
like
like-
Utah here or something.
Pac-12 kind of.
I can't think of a good Pac-12 fit for him. He feels like a Colorado guy, but like they didn't offer him.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Like USC. Like USC doesn't feel like a school. I would see,
don't
like-
All right, give me an answer,
USC.
Peyton.
Washington State.
It is Washington State.
that was
Yep,
my.
there you
Oh, that
go.
was also
That
what I
was
was
good.
thinking. Good guess,
That was good.
Peyton.
Other schools in the Pac-12 that had interest, I mean, it was Colorado. That was it, actually. In the ACC, he did have interest from NC State and Wake Forest, but no offers from those two schools. He had interest in Northern Colorado, but no offer. Sometimes this stuff could be incorrect on 247, but interesting that sometimes there's maybe a visit, but no offer at the end. Some of the other offers he had,
Yeah, go ahead.
some of the other offers he had was Arkansas, Little Rock, Denver, Montana, Tulane, UTSA, and that's it.
Surprised there wasn't more interest from the Colorado schools. There's a few of them there. I know Denver.
Colorado
but
State also had interest, but according to 247, no offer.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Hey,
well,
he
you know
got-
what?
He got to the right school eventually. That was.
Yeah,
that
he
was
wound
so
up
bad.
being
He's-
a very solid player.
Yeah.
So good for him.
We love Ronnie. Best beats of the week, Kenny.
Best beats of the week. Here are the standings. Jack has a slight advantage at 23-15 with Michigan and Iowa hitting the under of 36 points in the Big Ten championship. Peyton, you are really close behind in second at 23-16 with Utah Tech covering a -3.5 spread against Lindenwood last week. I am in third at 21-18. Oklahoma State did not cover a 14-point spread against Texas.
Yeah, we need to talk about this. There was some controversy.
Yeah, Zach Hernandez, who we have banned from the show, is now. I have a banned friendship with him. He was the one who told me to take this bet. I let him choose this week. He asked me what the conference games were. He said, "What's Big 12?" And he said to take the team that was not favored to win. Oklahoma State looked a little good in the first and second quarter. Then they didn't, and I mean it was close. There were some explosive plays there on offense. That big Alan Bowman guy. But Texas ran away with it, of course, stomped him. I think Quentin Ewers had close, if not 300 yards in the first half. Guy was a monster. And I blame you, Zach Hernandez. You are now banned from ever talking to me again because of this.
He was not on the banned list prior to this, but I have added him to it. He joins. We now have two Zachs, Zach Hernandez and Zach Hampel. They join Chris Paul's daughter's bullies and Deshaun Watson. So that's the band.
There we go. We got a Mount Rushmore.
If anyone has some submissions for any more band lists, let us know. Peyton, what is your? Oh, Kenny, did you say your best beat?
I'll say it real quick. I have
Oh,
Memphis plus 6.5 versus Iowa State. I can't even tell you what bowl game this is. I just saw
Liberty
Memphis
Bowl.
and took Memphis. There we go. Liberty Bowl, Memphis. Oh, there we go. Memphis loves the USA. But I got Memphis plus 6.5.
It's also literally their home stadium.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
So,
isn't it in Memphis?
I kind of like that one actually.
Nice.
So I'm in first place still. I gotta keep that rolling. Utah Tech was kind to me last week. I'm gonna stay in mid-major basketball. We're going to take the San Jose State Spartans +1 against North Dakota State on the road against North Dakota State. The only thing I can tell you about either of these teams is that San Jose State is like about 100 spots better than North Dakota State on KenPom, which is where I form all of my basketball opinions. And I also remember when North Dakota State played Duke as a 16 seed, and that Duke team had Zion, Cam Reddish, and RJ Barrett, and they did not win. So that's why I'm going to be taking San Jose State.
Sound. Hey, they were left out of the Mountain West Football Championship, so
They
way to
were.
give them some love on
Don't
that men's basketball
doubt
front.
my methods, man. I'm in first place in this thing.
You sure are. Not for long though, because once North Dakota State covers that, and my last bet, I've been a sick man for a long time on this show. I can feel myself getting better, and I think the perfect cure to being a sicko is a little bit of citrus. That's why I'm going the under. My last grand hurrah, the under for Iowa, Tennessee in the Citrus Bowl, which is currently set at 36.5. It will be Josh Heupel attempting to give me one loss. He won't do it. Iowa did a great job against Michigan. Tennessee's a worse team than Michigan. They did a good job against Michigan, holding them to the under. They will do the same thing against Tennessee. Appreciate everyone who's been supportive on this sicko journey. Kenny and Peyton have not. They are haters and losers. But to all you sickos out there, this one's for you. Way to go out in a bang. I've been officially banned from betting on Iowa again. So you can blame Peyton and Kenny for that. It was a hell of a ride, and I'm ashamed. I'm sad that it can't keep going. This really must be what Florida State feels like, getting left out of the playoff. I mean, it's just so sad I can't continue this.
Kenny, who's your dirty bird?
Hopefully,
yeah, man, he is just yapping. I was just trying to push this forward and get away with it. I don't care what your bet is. Dirty bird.
Third week in a row, Knowlton hasn't bet on anything.
You guys are all
just yapping. Okay,
all of
dirty
you.
bird of the weekend goes to Joe Flacco, back in the starting role with NFL team. He was under center for the Cleveland Browns today, recording here on a Sunday. Browns ended up losing 36-19, but Joe Flacco had a big touchdown pass to Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford actually was stumbling into the end zone, and I was telling you guys about it. Joe Flacco maybe took 20 steps back from being under center and just heaved it to a wide open Jerome Ford. Ended up with being 23 for 44 on the day with 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception. Pretty cool to just see Joe Flacco back in the NFL and starting.
Not a bad game,
Not terrible.
He did fine.
He's elite.
He was
47,000 years old. He is elite.
It was a vintage Joe Flacco performance.
I gotta pull up what's the rap lyric about Joe Flacco? Like someone just took like a shot at him. Oh yeah, it's like someone saying like you're overrated like Joe Flacco. It's just like we can throw Joe Flacco under the bus there for. He's elite. Peyton, what's your dirty bird?
My dirty bird of the week is Jack Plummer. Oh my God. I cannot believe how bad he played in the ACC title game. Of course, if you don't know Jack Plummer, he's the Louisville starting quarterback. They were in the ACC title game. They could have made everything a lot easier if they had just beaten Florida State's third string. They weren't even close, really. Jack Plummer played horrible. Of course, this wound up giving way to probably the most controversial decision the CFP has had in its existence. Of course, leaving out unbeaten Power 5 champion Florida State for Alabama. It sucks. Like I go back and forth on it because it does suck the way it happened to Florida State. It's not their fault. Travis got hurt. But at the same time, Travis did get hurt. And I just don't think there's a way you can say with a straight face that Florida State is a better team than Alabama right now. It's not the 4 most deserving. It's the 4 best teams. And I just think Alabama is probably better. It really does suck. If Travis was healthy, it absolutely should be Florida State in the playoff right now, but he's not healthy.
Yeah. Sorry, Kenny, did you have something? I was going to let you get a word in.
Yeah, I mean, Florida State did have 2 good wins. I mean, 2 wins on the road against Power 5 teams, and the Florida game is something you play every single year. But beating LSU and beating the quarterback who's going to win the Heisman, in my opinion, it's just I get it. You know, at the end of the day, you're not going to have the guy who is really the strength of that offense and putting things together. Very unfortunate for how it went down. Just a really tricky year for the last 4 before they moved to a 12 team. And I guess that's just kind of what the football gods were wanting. I would feel so terrible as a Florida State player, even if I'm especially if I'm a senior. This is my last time going out, and we couldn't have done anything else. That's all they could have said is like, we literally could have done nothing else. And it's very unfortunate for how things went down for them.
Yeah, the harrowing thing was when Jordan Travis tweeted that he wished he broke his leg earlier so that they could prove that they could still make the playoff and win all those games without him. That was hard to see. I also feel, I mean, yeah, it's hard not to feel bad for him. But we knew, I mean, they said that about Texas when their running back got hurt, like that if it was a player that gets hurt, they evaluate, you know, any key injuries that could impact how they do against other playoff teams. And it was very clear that's what they leaned heavily on. To me, it just proves why they need the 12-team playoff and why I think it's going to be great, because you're not going to leave teams out like this.
Yeah, it's a bummer. End of the day, I feel really bad for Florida State. I do, and it does fly in the face of past decisions the committee has made. Like now have no idea how TCU was able to keep Alabama out. Like, yes, the reason is always going to be because of Travis's injury, but at the same time, Bama was very clearly better than TCU last year, and they did not put Bama in over TCU, and I thought that was technically the correct decision. But
yeah,
it's a very messy situation.
Yeah, it sucks that it took, you know, until something like this with all of these good teams where they had no choice. They were going to piss somebody off with who they left out. It sucks that it got to that point where we're finally really pulling the trigger to say, all right, these are the 4 best teams, no matter what their records are. We think these teams have the best, you know, are the best. You know, they could have done that in years prior. There's cases like you just brought up. So it sucks that Florida State has to be the one to suffer for that. That's how it goes. My dirty bird of the week, segueing from that. I'm also just glad it's over, by the way. I'm glad I can stop speculating about who's going to make it the playoff. I got sick of it so fast. So glad we just know the games will be awesome, I'm sure. Or they'll be blowouts like they always have been in the 4-team playoff, but we shall see. Dirty bird of the week. Anyway, segueing. Goes to the Golden Eagles of Marquette, the number 3 team in the country. They lost the I-94 rivalry game to the Wisconsin Badgers. 3rd year in a row, the Golden Eagles have failed to beat the Badgers. I won't ignore putting on my Homer hat. I grew up a Wisconsin Badgers fan. I'm always very happy to see them win, and this was awesome, especially given Marquette's the number 3 team in the country. So dirty, dirty birds. Wisconsin owns that series. Marquette can't play Big Ten basketball. We love to see it. Also came on a weekend full of upsets. We've had Kentucky losing. Auburn and Mississippi State lost to mid-majors today in the SEC. Good low major. Yeah, low majors, not even mid-majors. So good for Mizzou for just kind of sliding, you know, on by and winning their game, not being one of those headlines. But
good job getting the low major loss out very early.
Yeah. Thank you, other SEC schools, for detracting.
For making Mizzou look a little better. Shaka Smart mentioned, so it's time for Kenny and I to mention the obligatory. We saw Shaka Smart's last game at Texas in person. They lost to Abilene Christian. It was pretty funny. He had ugly hair.
No, it wasn't ugly. He looked good. Glad that he's taking steps forward to get his hair game back on. Nice salad up there.
He should maybe take some steps forward to learn how to guard Tyler Wall. Loser.
You're talking about stuff people don't even know about. We're speaking another language to us right now, Jack. Let's get into some fraud ranking. Oh,
Kenny, what time is it? What time is it, Kenny?
Check that watch.
It's fraud o'clock.
Oh, no!
We're starting it in New York City, where the Atlanta Falcons showed up with a 1-4 record on the road this season, taking on the New York Jets, Tim Boyle, not too hot. Wasn't boiling today. The Falcons getting away with a 13-8 win. Ritter me this. The Falcons are at the top of the NFC South.
NFC South fraud champions.
What division has that team at the top?
They're going to be a top 4 seed in the NFC. Fraud.
This next one, we're going to Nashville. The Tennessee Titans taking on the Indianapolis Colts. Another close one. Another one that was on our Fantastic Four, but the fraud pins of Fraudnessy lose 31-28 in overtime to the Indianapolis Colts and Gardner Minshew.
Can you tell me the Titans kicker before Michael Bashley? It was Randy Bullock. Oh, fraud o'clock!
Oh, fraud Randy. Oh. And he doesn't like him. He's
Fraudy Van Doren's favorite kicker.
Fraudy Van Doren. Who's next?
A third coming in on the fraud rankings is the Denver Fraudcos, losing 22-17 in the Coach of the Year Bowl.
Fraud.
Between Denver and Houston, Russell Wilson throws for 3 interceptions, 15 for 26, 186 yards, and a touchdown. His counterpart, C.J. Stroud, 16-27, 274 yards and a touchdown. The Houston not-Fraudkins destroy the Denver Fraudcos, 22-17.
I smell something. I smell something, Kenny.
Frank Dell.
I smell something. It smells like playoffs for Houston.
Coming in at number 2 in the fraud rankings, and this one hurts me. It hurts me deep down to call them the Fraudsburg Fraudlers. They got destroyed by the Arizona Cardinals, 24-10. Kyler Murray only threw for 145 yards and a touchdown. But James Conner,
Call of Duty before.
Don't Google the Cardinals' record going into this game.
Just look at the Cowboys game highlight.
At number 1 on the fraud rankings this week. This one's easy. The Dirty Birds of the weekend, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Fraud Goals losing.
UCS fraud!
Losing 42-19 to Brock Purdy and the San Francisco non-fraud nerds.
This one was so bad. Kenny put it on before the game was even over.
Good job, hey, at least one Brock is going to the playoffs. Am I right?
Who's the other one?
Brock Glenn. He's not going to the playoffs.
Speak another language. No one knows who you're talking about.
Brock Glenn. No, that's a good one. The Fraudinals.
Kenny's just in my head right now.
All right.
Ratio
of the weekend. This one's tough. Jamal Adams. If you guys didn't see this, matching up against Ferguson in Thursday Night Football between the Seahawks and the Cowboys, and Jamal Adams just looks foolish on this play. Kind of like just jumping up in the air. It's almost like he was playing Madden and pressed the button too late to jump towards the football. Gives up the touchdown, and Connor Hughes, who is a NFL reporter for SNY in New York, covering the Jets and the Giants, of course, the Jets are Adams' former team, quote tweeted the highlight and said, "Yikes." Adams didn't like that, ended up quoting a picture of, the tweet that says "Yikes" with a photo of Hughes' wife and said, "Yikes." Such an asshole move. I don't know why anyone has ever even liked Jamal Adams. Like, oh, he's funny. He had that one video of where he got locked out of the Jets facilities, blah, blah, blah. He's a glorified linebacker. He doesn't even play safety. The guy is just a loser. He's always been such a weirdo and just a stupid, cheap shot. I don't even understand why he would do it.
I will say this. The original yikes from Connor Hughes, a little bit of a cheap shot. Like, he doesn't play for the Jets anymore. He hasn't played for the Jets in like 3-4 years. I don't really see the point of quote tweeting that, but come on, Jamal Adams. Like, he was rightfully getting destroyed for this one. Like, Connor Hughes' wife had nothing to do with this. Pretty weak move on his part. Much like his coverage moves were weak against Jake Ferguson. Hey-oh!
Damn right. The Seahawks are my team. I have hated Jamal Adams since he's arrived. He's not very good, like Kenny said. He's always injured, and he's clearly just kind of an asshole. So, not a good representation of the Seahawks organization. So I was not pleased to see this. You are an idiot, Jamal Adams. Idiot of the week. Nice. Peyton, want to find us a joke from our favorite sitcom to end the show?
Oh, Do I ever? The Today Show. Oh, let's find a joke of the day for us today. Gosh, if you haven't seen the latest episode of the Today Show, neither have I.
I haven't. What happens? I haven't DVR'd.
I haven't seen either.
Okay.
But hold on, let's see if we can find it.
You said like if you haven't seen it,
Yeah.
boy, wait till you see it. You haven't seen. You
Oh,
didn't watch
speaking of
it?
which, Al Roker pop-up ad on my thing. So here we go,
Oh.
guys. So where'd
Mhm.
Kenny go? We're talking about our
Kenny,
favorite. sitcom,
Kenny,
and
come
he's nowhere
back.
to
We
be
have a
found.
joke.
Kenny, come on! It's our favorite TV series.
I can't unmute him because
Okay,
he chose to
well,
mute himself.
Knowlton.
What if
a
I solo
horse-
him while we're talking behind him?
A horse walks into a bar.
Okay.
You following me?
Yep.
The bartender says, "Why the long face?" Said the horse. Get it?
I think I
Because
know
they
this one.
They go and they go "Hey," stuff like that. But they got the long snout. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty good.
That's a
Al
good one.
Roker
That's a good
cracks me up. He's the funniest character.
I didn't like his last joke, but this one was good. That was a good
This
one by
was a
Al
good one.
Roker. He ranks high on my list of characters. Kenny, can you give us your best horse impression? Thank you, Kenny. All right, we'll end the show with that. Ohio State, man, Cotton Bowl. What a season for Mizzou football. That'll do it for us in the unwritten rule. We'll come back Friday. We're going to preview the Kansas game for men's hoops. We'll see. We'll see what can go on with there. We'll probably have Benny back on to talk about that as well. Oh, there he is.
Do you want me to do my horse impression?
Yeah,
your horse-
let's do the horse impression.
Don't say anything. I'm going to have to cut out of this.
Sometimes I feel like I was born with a leak, and any goodness I started with just slowly spilled out of me, and now it's all gone.
You're a depressing
Is that from
ass
BoJack
horse.
Horseman?
It is from BoJack Horseman.
I knew it. All right.
Oh,
I figured he'd loophole like that. Thanks for joining. Glad you could join us for the outro. That'll do it for the unwritten rule. Everyone have a fun and safe week. Go celebrate the Cotton Bowl being a thing. Hopefully everyone's getting their tickets. We're gonna be there. So, yeah. Congrats on the Cotton Bowl for Mizzou football. We'll preview the Kansas game on Friday. Until then, everyone, have a good week.